Now we'll go to the next speaker, Dr. Neeraj Raite. He's there. He'll be talking on role of laparoscopy in atypical GI cases. So, I will introduce Dr. Neeraj Raite, sir. He's a MS DNB, laparoscopic GI and bariatric surgeon. Dr. Neeraj Raite is a gastrointestinal surgeon with expertise in laparoscopy and robotic surgery for gastrointestinal diseases and bariatric surgery. After completing his medical education in India, Dr. Raite completed his advanced training as a fellow at the Department of GI Surgery at the Athens Medical Center in Greece. Dr. Raite has special interest in robotic and laparoscopic hernia, GI and bariatric surgery. He has co-authorized books on minimally invasive and has contributed technical papers to several reputed journals. He has conducted several live surgical workshops to demonstrate technically demanding procedures which were broadcast live to international audiences in the US, Italy, Turkey, and Singapore. So over to Dr. Neeraj Raite, sir.
Thank you so much, madam, for a kind introduction. It is always heartening to come back to our alumnus organization of IMA and speak with our all associates who have been working hard to make the knowledge reach to each and every doctor of the community. I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we have heard role of endoscopy. We have heard role of medical management in reflux disease. We have heard role of open GI surgery. And so I thought that I will cover a next aspect in GI surgery, which is laparoscopic surgery. We all know that laparoscopic surgery is now established for gallbladder, hernia, and appendix and hysterectomy. But laparoscopy has an immense role in certain GI cases, and it can really change the outcome of patients' surgery. And that's how I thought that I'll share some interesting and challenging cases which we came across in our day-to-day practice with everybody. At the outset, I would like to start my lecture with with my father, whom I lost last year, but his words about interesting and challenging will always be with me all my life. And he used to say that even a simple surgery can be challenging and even a tough surgery can be easy. And this is purely based on the experience and circumstances. And he also used to emphasize that it's not only about interesting and challenging, but it is very important to chase the excellence irrespective of the circumstances. So we at Ruby Hall have always tried our level best to chase the excellence and give best to our patients. And that is what we will continue to do. I got trained in surgery from 2000 to 2002 when laparoscopy was not much established. And this is how I used to learn surgery. And when my postgraduate teacher used to ask me, "Distay ka re?" I was left with no choice than saying yes. आपल्याकडे मराठीत म्हणतात ना, जर आपल्या बॉसने म्हटलं की आज बैल व्याला, तर आपण म्हणायचं असतं, हो सर, मी खरवस खाऊन आलो आताच. It was just like that. And I was always taught by my boss that big surgeons take big incisions. Well, the time has changed in last 2 decades. Open surgery used to be like a narsinha with lot of blood loss and pain to the patient, and this is no longer true. There are some misconceptions about laparoscopy which I would like humbly to clear here. People feel that it is costlier, but the fact of the matter is that it is not costlier because it reduces the pain, hospital stay, and overall recovery of the patient. There are very few types of surgeries which are done laparoscopically is a misconception which we will get clarified in this and probably the next lecture, where you can see that almost everything is possible laparoscopically. People feel that laparoscopic oncosurgery is inadequate, and we have enough evidence which is published now to say that laparoscopy has an immense role when it comes to doing a cancer surgery also. In fact, for obese patients, laparoscopy is a boon. And people feel that it is not safe, and this is also no longer true. So if I have to say it in one line with apology to MasterCard, cost of laparoscopy may be in instruments and laparoscopy system may be in lakhs, but the cost of improved outcome after laparoscopy is priceless. So what all is possible laparoscopy? As I said in the beginning of my lecture, we all know gallbladder appendix, hysterectomy, but these days thoracoscopic procedures are also routinely done, wherein we can do thoracoscopic decortication, thoracic lymph node biopsies, and to extend lobectomy of lung thoracoscopically. We have heard about medical management of hiatus hernia and reflux disease. Laparoscopy has changed the paradigm of treating hiatus hernia and reflux disease, and fundoplication by means of laparoscopy is an established procedure. I have two small clips which I will share with you in the coming few slides. All the hernias these days, if it's an incisional hernia, umbilical hernia, and for that matter, inguinal hernia, are routinely done laparoscopically. There are very good quality meshes which are available now. We in fact do the defect closure also by means of laparoscopy or by means of robotics, and that's how we are getting very good midline coverage and midline strength of an abdominal wall after repair of hernia. Well, patients where we have done all battery of investigations, including even the CT, and if we are not able to find any information, diagnostic laparoscopy has still a limited role. Laparoscopy has been boon for patients who has early stage cancer and patients who have their weight more than 100, 150 or 200 kgs. I'll show you a few photographs of my patients where their life has changed thanks to laparoscopy and the surgery performed by means of laparoscopy. So here are a few clips which I have compiled for all of you. I will share a few of them with you for you to understand the value, worth, and the quality laparoscopy can add to patient's life. This patient was a pediatrician herself who had complaints of chronic pain in abdomen and classic history of vomiting after around 3 to 4 hours after her meal. And this classic history took us to a suspicion that she has something in the distal small bowel. She had a history of tuberculosis in her childhood. So we did a diagnostic laparoscopy for her and we decided to trace her terminal ileum because we had a suspicion that there is a possibility of a small ileal stricture which is causing her symptoms of subacute intestinal obstruction and giving vomiting around 4 to 6 hours after her meal. And you can see that narrowing of the ileum in the terminal, which is very nicely seen. Now what was left is to just bypass this narrowing, and then once we know the cause, bypassing this narrowing by resecting the strictures part of ileum and doing the surgery was not at all difficult. Let's go to the next case where the patient had small bowel intussusception. Now intussusception in adults is always and always associated with a pathology. Pardon me for the quality of film, but the film itself is worth seeing because this patient had a small bowel going inside the distal small bowel, and because it was diagnosed early, we could intervene and reduce this intussusception by means of laparoscopy. We can very well visualize the dilated small bowel loops, and we can also see the proximal small bowel going inside the distal small bowel. When this small bowel was gradually reduced, it took around few minutes for us to completely take out the part of small bowel which was going inside, and at the end of this was the lead fragment, which was a small polyp in the small bowel. You can see that polyp here. Now once we know the cause of this intussusception, what was remaining was to treat this cause. So the part of polyp which will now come out, you can just focus on this part of the film. That's the last bit of it which is remaining. And here it goes out. So this is the polyp which was causing this intussusception. So this polyp was taken out through a small phalansteal incision of around 3 to 4 centimeter, and a resection anastomosis was done. So that was the polyp from inside the small bowel, and you can see the kind of trauma this patient has gone. It's hardly anything for the kind of recovery patient gets. For the want of time, probably we will go to some more interesting clips. So here is a patient who came to us with intestinal obstruction due to bowel entrapped into the hernial sac. There was omentum and small bowel both going inside. Again, the time of patient reporting to the hospital is the key element here. You can see the congested bowel wall, which is visual there. And since the patient could report to us in time, probably we could salvage this bowel and consider repairing the hernia in the same setting, because if there was a delay, we would have required to sacrifice the bowel. Now that's the congested small bowel which is going inside the hernial sac, which is reduced. Then we waited for around 5. You can see the peristalsis of the bowel, which proves that this bowel is a viable bowel. Every time I see this clip, it feels me very satisfying to save that bowel and repair that hernia laparoscopically. So these days, inguinal hernias are routinely managed by laparoscopy, and there is a 3D mesh, a 3-dimensional mesh, which is used for the repair of hernia. The biggest advantage of a 3-dimensional mesh is its shape. This mesh comes in a pre-shaped form. Normally, we all know that the meshes which are used for hernia repair are flat meshes, whereas in this, the mesh is coming in a pre-shaped form. So it nicely goes and fits into the inguinal cavity by means of laparoscopy. And then there is no need of any additional fixation which is required. And this gives very pain-free and good recovery for our patients. As I said, gastroesophageal reflux disease is very well treated by means of laparoscopy. There are 2 ways by which you can repair hiatus hernia. It can be an either 360-degree repair of the fundus. Now this is the gastric fundus which is mobilized, and I am fixing this fundus along the gastroesophageal junction to create a wrap. This is called as a 360-degree wrap. So 2 stitches, loose floppy wrap of Nielsen's is formed by means of laparoscopy. And that creates an external valve at the gastroesophageal junction, which prevents the reflux. So this is possible and effective. You can see a nicely formed 360-degree wrap around the esophagus. In patients who have a low esophageal mobility, instead of 360-degree wrap, we can always create a 270 degrees wrap. So this is the esophagus, which is lying in between. The stomach is mobilized from both the sides. And you can see that esophagus is being fixed to the stomach, thereby creating a partial wrap. This wrap is called as toupee. So yes, gastroesophageal reflux, this is medical management is possible, but when medical management doesn't work, laparoscopic fundoplication is definitely rewarding for patients, especially those patients who are having large hiatus hernia and who are having young age, so that they don't need to take antacids for longer duration of life. Now let's come to something which is really interesting, rewarding, and giving me satisfaction in my last 5 to 8 years of life. Bariatric surgery has changed the dimensions of outcome in obese patients. Laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy and laparoscopic gastric bypass have really helped our patients to lose weight immensely and change their quality of life. So here is a story of first patient, which is the highest patient we have operated till date. He was 272 kilograms and he had visited us twice before he reached this weight. He was 150 and 200 kgs when he could not make up his mind to undergo surgery. When he really decided to undergo surgery, there were a lot of challenges for our medical and surgical team because of his weight. In hospital, we did not had a bed suitable for him, neither the clothing of his size. It was challenged to shift him from OT table to the bed. But besides these menial challenges, the most important challenge was his post-operative recovery because of his weight. And this is the phenomenal change this guy has gone over last few years. From 270 to 100 and few kgs is something which is very, very rewarding to the patient as well as to the doctors themselves also. As we speak of obese patients, there are some patients who face metabolic challenge. Like the commonest challenge people face face is uncontrolled diabetes in obese patients. So here is an example of a young female who was just 48 years old. Her weight was also not that much. 100 kgs is quite often seen in today's world. But the challenge was her progressively increasing insulin requirement, which was not getting controlled despite all the medical management measures which were offered to her. The current dosage when she underwent a gastric bypass surgery were 65, 60, and 55 units. So almost 120 units of insulin in a day with an oral hypoglycemic agent. And despite that, her HbA1c was 10.2. So there was no way means by which we could have got fitness for her surgery. So we put her on IV insulin to control her sugars, and she underwent laparoscopic gastric bypass, which is a metabolic surgery for obese patients. And this was the change which we could found in 2 years' time. It was a new life for her and a very satisfying day for us. So here I am sharing all this information is for all of us to enlighten that many times, besides surgical specialties, other specialties have a little limited outlook about treating their patients, especially when it's a combination of obesity plus. So if we have any gynecologists sitting here in the audience, if we have patients who are having obesity and PCOD or infertility, and they are not getting relieved of their symptoms of PCOD or infertility, bariatric surgery still is a boon for them. If we have orthopedicians who are sitting here who have patients having obesity with knee osteoarthritis and prolapsed discs, we have our orthopedic colleagues who are sending patients to us for weight loss before their knee replacement because they say that they are not able to see the knee properly. So bariatric surgery is done laparoscopically and it helps in losing immense weight for the patients, and it helps in their overall comprehensive recovery. Even patients who have uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hyperlipidemia and blood pressure, when they lose their weight, their comorbidities go and it helps them in their overall recovery. So when I go on speaking so gaga about laparoscopy, are there any contraindications for laparoscopy? And what I would say is the only two contraindications for laparoscopy are birth of a newborn and a medical termination of pregnancy. Probably we won't be able to do anything here. And then people start feeling that, is this the dead end? Is this the end for open surgery? Is there any role for open surgery? And here I have to humbly say that no, skills of open surgery are indispensable. I have to be a good open surgeon to be a good laparoscopic surgeon. But the dictum which we teach our postgraduate students at Ruby is that open many patients once rather than opening one patient many times. So then a question which is asked by many patients who come to us for consult for laparoscopy is, what is the conversion and complications? We never consider conversion as a complication or a defeat of a surgeon. And we have a very high threshold for avoiding complication and a very low threshold for converting a patient to open surgery if we have even an iota of doubt about completing the procedure. So zero tolerance is offered when it comes to offering safety of our patients. Here I am to say everybody, what looks evil can turn good in the right hands and at the right care offered to the patients. What matters most is how we all look at ourselves. So to summarize, friends who are listening to this lecture, all challenges are possible to handle when we have a support of like-minded people like you who are open to spend a half Sunday morning to understand what is happening new in GI surgery. When we are all working towards a common goal, which is betterment of our patients. We all believe in teamwork. You can see that here there are 6 experts speaking on different aspects of GI surgery. And the most important angle to this team are you people sitting on the other side of the dais who are going to decide and choose for your patients what is right, and do consider these recent advances for offering them to your patients. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It was a real well explained presentation with all the nice videos and video clips and your slides also. Very good. So it was really this laparoscopy has really a change in our recent advances. And I'm a gynecologist. You were saying about the who is a gynecologist. So I am myself is a gynecologist, and we use laparoscopy like anything because for the all this surgery you must be knowing, and for the PCOD and thing and control of diabetes and all we are using. So thank you very much, sir. So now I will request our president, Dr. V.L. Deshmukh, to felicitate you, sir. Sir,
This is for you.
Can you see?
Yes,
Can
yes.
you see? Okay. Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Because we can't.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
Madam,
sir.
any comment?